This episode is brought to you by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Celebrate National Smoothie Day with Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropic Rewards members get a free smoothie on June 21st with bowl or food purchase. Order in the app, online, or in cafe. You're on Tropic time now.
Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm sitting here in my studio with writer, podcaster, comedian, Tess Barker. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I feel like people have been wanting this union for a long time.
Agree. I'm so glad it's finally happening.
Me too. Okay, so you are one of the co-hosts of Lady to Lady, which I had the distinct pleasure of guesting on years ago now, maybe. Feels like a while. You're one of the what would I call you? Architects of the Free Britney movement, because you had a Free Britney podcast, which launched a movement. There was a documentary. And we have to get into that because recently on one of my Patreons, patreon.com/Allison Rosen, I'm legally obligated to give the URL when I say it. My husband and I were talking about Britney. And then one of the commenters was like, because I had mentioned my upcoming guest, was like, when Tess Barker comes on the show, have her explain. And then like a whole bunch of, I don't think he didn't mean to scold me, but it was scolding of like, it's not, like what I said was not okay.
Okay.
So put a pin in that. And then also you just recently launched Pop Mystery Pod. So, and you're an accomplished journalist. My background is in journalism.
Amazing.
Yes. So I am amazing. So we have a lot to get to. Let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Camarillo. Do you know where that is?
Yeah. Wait, don't tell me. I do. It is. Is that on the way to Ventura?
It is on the way to Ventura.
Okay. What was that like?
I never locked my car doors growing up.
Okay.
I mean, it was very suburban. I was bored as hell though. I mean, I was always right. It was about 45 minutes north of LA. So like as soon as I could drive, I was in LA. I always knew I wanted to live in the city. It was very track home. Yeah.
That's I grew up in Orange County.
Okay.
I was born in Oakland, and I always claim that because it sounds like I have more cred that way. But then people will ask a question. I'm like, okay, I left before I was a year old. So, but you know what? But Oakland is in me. You know, you can leave Oakland, but no, Oakland. What is it? You can take the girl out of Oakland, but you can't take the Oakland out of the girl.
Exactly.
That's what they always say about me. But yeah, Orange County is very much like, it's like very safe, but also very, well, there's all sorts of things I didn't like about it.
Yeah,
but anyway,
exactly.
So was comedy what you wanted to go into, or writing, or what was your path?
Yeah, sort of both, I guess. Definitely writing was something that, should I take my Invisalign out? I'm like self-conscious of it.
If you want to.
Are you hearing it?
It's funny. I am doing Invisalign as well.
You take those out?
I go back and forth. Today I did take them out because I'm like near the end.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just gonna jump the gun.
Like, tell me if does it sound like I have a lisp? Like, to me it does, but I can't tell.
Maybe a tiny bit.
Okay, I'm gonna take it out.
Okay.
Do you mind?
I don't mind.
Oh, sorry.
No,
That's
no
the
problem.
Thing, 'cause it goes against your hours, but I'm like, I talk for a living.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
I'm new. It's like my first month.
Oh, how are you feeling about it?
It's fine. It's a little gross. As I like pull out my strawberry retainer, I'm like, it's not the sexiest thing I've ever done.
Are you the oldest person at the orthodontist office, just like I am?
Well, my dentist is doing it, and I'm a VIP there because I have really bad teeth.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wait, what now? Is there actually like a VIP designation, or you just mean you go a lot?
I just mean I know everyone by their first name. They know me.
That's great.
Yeah.
My orthodontist, it's like me and then other adults who have brought their children there. It's like kids with braces and, colored rubber bands around them and stuff. And then me.
Do you get a treat when you leave?
They do have tooth-shaped lollipops, which I've never gone for. I kind of wish my dentist sometimes gives away it's like lip balm. And I always thought, I bet this is gross. But then I got it one time and it's a nice pear flavor, and it's very moisturizing.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
I would like a lip balm or like a pen.
Yes.
I don't want a tooth. It's a molar. I don't want a molar-shaped lollipop.
No, because that feels counterintuitive. It's
Yeah.
like a broccoli-shaped lollipop. What are we doing?
Exactly. And plus, it's almost like cannibalizing. Your teeth eating a tooth.
Exactly.
No, thank you.
No. So wait, you asked me today, comedy and writing. Yeah, I always was like the class clown. Definitely always loved attention and got attention by being funny.
Mhm.
But writing was something that always came fairly easily to me too. For most of like my childhood, I really wanted to be an actor.
Same. Oh my God.
Were you a theater kid?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I was close. Well, you were too. I was close enough to LA that I convinced my parents to let me get into child acting. And they were like, if you do everything, we'll drive you. But what that meant is I did a lot of extra work, which was the highlight of my otherwise unpleasant high school life, because I would get to leave school and be around celebrities. And, and I went on a fair amount of auditions, but, I never got cast on a show or anything.
Same.
Did you do extra work too?
I did extra work. Not until I was in college did I start doing extra work, but I always went to auditions. But I was like, my whole childhood was just going to auditions and not getting parts.
Yes.
Yeah, but I still felt
Did you look
fancy.
older than you were like I did? Because that's kind of the opposite of what they want.
I don't know if I did. I think I looked pretty true to my age. Yeah. I think I was a decent actor too. It's just I was also a very generic. I was like a blonde kid, which there was a million of. So it's hard to stand
And you weren't
out.
a twin, so
I wasn't a twin.
Yeah.
I actually have brothers who are triplets.
Oh my God!
Uh-huh.
Like do you know who the Creole triplets are?
No.
Oh, they've come up on the show before. They were on, or one of them, some combination, possibly just one, was on Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
But also they did a remake of Parent Trap.
Oh.
And they were in teen magazines, and now one is conservative, one is a lesbian, and I think one is a real estate agent.
I love that. Triplets really like to diverge from one another, I think.
Yes.
Because when you're one of three.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, so because when you have multiples, the agents like literally, I think, come to the hospital and hand out their business cards. So my brothers who have no interest in acting, when they were babies, were in a few like TV movies and things like that.
What ones?
They were in one called Mystery Woman, Oh Baby, which
Was there a comment in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then an exclamation point, I think.
So Mystery Woman, comma, oh baby?
Yeah.
What is it? What was it about?
It was, who's the actress that looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar but isn't? She was in soap operas and stuff.
Sarah Michelle Gellar was in soap operas.
Okay, someone that looks like
You're sure it's not Sarah
It
Michelle
might
Gellar?
have been Sarah Michelle. It honestly might have been Sarah Michelle
She
Gellar.
was on All My Children. She played Kendall.
Okay. Yes. My mom watched All My Children. Yeah, I do remember that. Okay. I'm almost certain it was her, but they played the baby in Mystery Woman, Oh Baby, and that is how I got my SAG card. Because my parents, like, they had to keep the babies for like a longer day, and so my dad was like, well, they have an older sister who would like to join the union, and he kind of bargained with the AD to Taft-Hartley me, and so I got an extra part. Well, this is kind of a funny story. They wanted me to be a cyclist. Like, there was a shot where I was going to ride a bike and then the camera was going to pan down to like the main characters having a conversation in a car. But I hadn't ridden a bike since childhood, So like, okay, you're going to ride the bike and then the shot's going to go. I get on this bike. I go like 3 feet and then I proceed to wipe out so hard on this bike. And the entire crew just like goes silent.
They should have had a stunt person doing it.
And then I'm just laying there with this bike on top of me. I'm already the triplets, like weird older sister that's there on a favor.
I know, and now you're like holding up the production. God.
And then the director through the megaphone just goes, cut. All right, Tess, you're going to be a jogger now. So
I hope by the end they're like, Tess, you're going to sit in a chair. Did you get hurt though?
No, I was all right. A little screamed, but I was all right. Yeah.
Do you know Danielle Koenig? Jimmy Pardo's wife, who's a TV writer.
Yes,
okay. Yeah. She was also a child actor, and she has a story, and I can't remember the details, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but it involves riding a bike, and I feel like something perilous happened. It was like riding a bike on a set, maybe as an extra, or maybe she had a speaking part. I don't know, but I feel like you guys need to
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
And you're right. That should always be a stunt person.
Yes.
That's much too intense for regular actors.
What else were they in and were you in?
They were in that Jeff Goldblum show. I wasn't. That was the only thing we collaborated on.
Right.
But they were in that Jeff Goldblum show where he played like a detective.
I missed that one.
Yeah. And then they were in Britney's sister's show, Zoe 101.
Okay. I was going to say all that. That's not the show. And then what else were you in?
I as a kid, I mean, I was in like a mayonnaise commercial.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Were you featured in this commercial?
Yeah.
Look at you. What did you have to do?
Yeah. I just remember it was like me at a table with like a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cutting vegetables.
Classic mayonnaise situation.
And I don't even know if I had a line. I don't even think I had a line.
Right. Did you have to eat a lot of mayonnaise or any mayonnaise?
No mayonnaise, thank God, because I have a huge fear of mayonnaise.
Yeah, I kind of do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But lately I've been on a real potato salad kick. Like
really?
I see the scorn. And
yeah,
the
I'm sorry to be judgy.
Is it because it has mayonnaise?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you won't even do anything. No tuna salad. No macaroni salad. I sound like a 70s potluck right now.
Yeah, no, like these kind of
eggs.
things give me the heebie-jeebies so bad. In fact, that may be my least favorite kind of mayonnaise.
I think that I am someone who, at the Mayonnaise Haters Association, they would say I'm like a poser now that I think about it, because this is going to be a tangent, but it relates. I had this guy on the show, RJ City. He's an interviewer and a wrestler, and he is afraid of spiders. Like, it has a true spider phobia, can't see a picture of them, etc.
Okay.
And I was saying that I had a mouse phobia. However, I was saying I had a mouse phobia because when I lived in New York, I had mice in my apartment, and it was like this whole really upsetting months-long situation. However, recently I, on Instagram, have started watching videos of rats, and like, they're really cute. And he's like, see, are you sure it's a real phobia and not just anxiety about something that should be anxiety inducing? Because if it was a real phobia, you wouldn't be able to look at these videos. And I was like, you're right. And so I've come clean since then. And I guess if I'm eating potato salad by the gallon, I shouldn't say I don't like mayonnaise.
No.
The idea of like using mayonnaise on something and then licking the knife or like anything.
Woo!
Like, I'm sorry, mayonnaise plain is horrific to me.
Well, yeah, and even for you to be able to casually say something like a gallon of potato salad, I mean, that you just gave me
I'm sorry,
daytime nightmares.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't love the idea of gatekeeping phobias.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I don't either.
You know?
Or do. I mean, but I understand his point.
Yeah.
It's because he's like, I am truly suffering and you get to choose when you suffer, I think. Or something. I don't know.
Is that something that like a doctor diagnoses you with usually? Or do you just self-identify with a phobia?
I think you self-identify.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. And you know what? He was mansplaining.
Exactly.
So fuck that. I do have a phobia sometimes.
Exactly.
I think his phobia was to the extent where he felt it physically. Like, he would begin to feel panicked and, like I said, can't be around pictures of spiders and things like that.
That's how I am with needles.
Oh.
I think I may have mayonnaise is just deep disgust like in my whole soul. But needles, I'm like that. Like, I can't watch hospital shows. I can't watch movies about people who are on heroin. No.
I can't watch videos of people doing PRP. Do you know what that is?
No, what is that?
It sounds like a drug. It's not. It's like do you know what microneedling is?
Yes.
I can't do that because I'm afraid of the needles. But I did buy a Dermastamp for at-home use. So here I go again, lying through my fucking teeth. PRP is that they draw your blood and then they spin it and then they use the PRP plasma-rich something. They use some portion of it and like put it on your face with microneedling, and it's supposed to do magical shit on your face. But
the vampire facial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yes. But yes, it is that. But they're also like doing other stuff with it. But when I start to watch a video and it's someone like with the tube of this person's, juice, and they're going to do something, I can't. Yeah. And I used to have a real needle phobia, but then I did IVF. And actually, it was less a needle phobia. It was a fear of getting my blood drawn. How are you with that?
That is definitely the worst element
It is.
Like, for me,
it's so much worse. I mean,
oh my God.
This mentally, conceptually.
Yes.
I've gotten to the point now where I actually, and I'm not trying to brag or make you feel less than, I'm okay with it. I'm truly okay with it. It was a long, hard road to get here. But that one used to be the worst for me. I'd have to lie down.
Do you think IVF is what got you over it?
Yeah, because you have to get your blood drawn so frequently.
So it's just like an exposure thing.
Mm-hmm. And also, I was under the impression that, I don't want to trigger anyone or anything, I thought they put a needle in and then draw the blood out.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize they just put a needle in and then just the way your heart pumps, just the blood just goes
is
out.
that right?
Yeah, they're not sucking it out. It just, with every pump of your heart, it's just like going out. Or maybe it's not the pump of your heart, but there's no like, which is what I thought. Like,
that's actually comforting to hear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's less invasive in that way, I guess.
It's less like heebie-jeebie,
Yes.
I guess, but it is for me like kind of centered around like the idea of puncturing a vein.
Mhm,
like I
mhm.
don't like shots either, like whether it's
Yeah.
going in or out. I mean, and I was trying to get over it through exposure therapy because my husband donates plasma at the Children's Hospital.
Oh my God, what a saint.
I know. And so I was like, that's so sweet. I'll go with you. And I was like, I'm not going to donate plasma, but I'll donate blood. And I had done it a couple times before and fainted a couple of those times.
Mm.
And then we went together. He already went through like the pre-check part. So they already like had him hooked up to the thing.
Mhm.
And I was doing the part where like they just test you for anemia.
See, I don't even like a finger prick.
No, me either.
That's one of the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they test my finger and I thought I was speaking clearly. And the doctor or nurse or whoever was like, you're not making sense right now. Like you're not. You're slurring your words really bad. And I was like, I am. And I was trying to say, I'm just really warm right now.
Oh no. Yes, I totally know that thing. And then like your vision starts
Yes.
tunneling and like hot and cold. And
Yes.
I've had that. The first time I ever had that was in 8th grade. The teacher pricked his finger to illustrate something or other. And yeah, I just was like turned white and like had to put my head down on the desk. And that happened again in high school. And I thought I was concealing it, but the teacher's like, Allison, put your head down on your desk.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still do that in high school or in schools. And if so, let's not. Just keep blood in our bodies.
Sanitary.
I think they used to do it where the kids would all prick their fingers, but then they stopped doing that. And then it was just the teacher. I think he was doing his blood type or something. I don't know. Anyway, enough of this. I'm beginning to feel hot and achy. Okay, so you wanted to act.
I wanted to act, but writing was something that I definitely always knew would be a part of my life. I've always loved writing too, and that was always something that came pretty easily to me, was writing. So I majored in screenwriting in college. And
Where'd you go?
LMU.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And then comedy, as soon as I graduated, I went the Groundlings route. I started doing stand-up because Groundlings was so expensive. And I literally was just like, oh, well, open mics are free. And then as I started doing open mics, I was like, I actually like this better than sketch and improv. So
You do? What did you like more about it?
just having more control, I guess. And just the idea of, oh, I can come up with a joke this afternoon and tonight go check and see if it works. Yeah, I just like the self-sufficiency aspect of it, which I think is what draws me to podcasting too.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into podcasting?
So me, Babs, and Brandy, my lady to lady co-hosts, we were standing outside of a stand-up show one night. We've been doing the show for 12 years now, so this was a while ago. And we were just riffing, and we were talking about like a fake show, like a View-like show called Lady to Lady.
And had you been friends with them for a long time?
Yeah. I think we were all kind of friends with each other individually and then sort of became a trinity when we started the podcast. But Babs messaged us both the next day and was like, I know we were just joking, but what if we really did do a talk show that was like the three of us, that was like a weird version of The View? So we were like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it in a black box theater at first.
Oh, cool.
And our director was the one that was like, have you guys ever heard of a podcast? And at the time, it was like there weren't that many podcasts. And so we hadn't really. But we learned pretty quickly that it was a lot easier to get people to listen to us than to show up to a black box theater in Hollywood. So
where was the theater?
it was one of those little ones on like Samo Boulevard.
How long did you do it as a live show?
Well, just as a live show, I think we had like 3 monthly shows in a row. And then for probably the first 5 years of the podcast, we were doing like a UCB show.
Yeah, it's funny. My podcast is, it's 12 years old as a podcast. But I had done it as a Ustream show before that I think that was 2010. But I had a similar realization of like, people can listen to podcasts wherever, as opposed to a thing where they have to show up to log into a thing to watch on their computer at a set time, similar to your realization. I feel like we're leading parallel lives.
I think so too, Allison.
Except for, in the string of the multiverse that I'm in, we are a little more okay with mayonnaise and needles.
Yeah, I need
We're
to
just
get
further
there.
along. I'm not saying I'm more evolved, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, that's why I didn't want to
am.
shame you, because I think that's progress. Like, we shouldn't hold people to a same version of themselves their whole lives.
Right. I'm the other version, I guess.
See?
So, okay, you wrote for MTV News, Vice, LA Weekly.
Yes.
See, and I wrote for OC Weekly.
Oh, see?
Uh-huh.
Writing for a weekly was fun, right?
It was fun. Although, so I've only ever been staffed at weeklies. I was also at Page Six magazine for a little while, and was that weekly? Now I can't remember. But I wrote for glossy monthlies a lot, but I was only ever on staff at weeklies. I was at OC Weekly and then Time Out New York, and then Page Six magazine for a little while. But I always thought it might be cool to be on staff at a monthly just because there's less of the grind. But in terms of writing for an alt weekly, I loved it.
Yeah, because I love writing about Los Angeles and California. So writing for LA Weekly, I really enjoyed. And I worked there right before, I think they got bought by Rupert Murdoch or someone like that.
Was it Village
similar.
Voice Media when you were there?
No.
Or Stern Publishing?
It might have been Stern Publishing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was there right before all the cool people got laid off. So it was also just, especially.
Is it still around even?
I don't read it if it is.
Yeah.
It must be, right? I think we would
I don't know.
have
I feel like I would have seen it. Of course, I don't leave my house often, so
Yeah.
maybe not.
I don't know. But yeah, I loved it. But yeah, that was
Remember
really
BAM?
No.
BAM was Bay Area music. And that was like, there would be that rack, and it'd be like BAM and then LA Weekly in many places. Okay, so what was MTV News like?
That was a blast. That was one of the most fun jobs I've ever had. I worked with a team. I was on staff there, and I worked with the team that was primarily in New York.
But you were here?
But I was here, so it was a really fun, chill freelance job. And I worked with people who I'm still really good friends with there. It was just a really good group of people. My editor was that's where I kind of cut my journalism teeth, honestly, was MTV, because my editor was great and would kind of just let me pitch and do whatever I wanted. So that's really where I learned how to do investigative journalism.
Who was your editor?
Ryan McKee.
Okay. I don't know that person. I felt like I should.
Yeah, you
I
should
feel like there's a
know.
chance I would have known.
Yeah.
But I'm struck out.
He was writing for James Corden for a while. No, I think he's just doing stand-up. Yeah, he's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was Vice?
Vice was cool. Vice was neat because similar thing, I got to pitch and that's where I did a lot of, Vicey kind of gonzo journalism, first person stuff. I feel like at Vice, I was doing a lot of stuff where I was definitely not, I was probably losing money writing for there. I would pitch things like, let me go to Magic Mountain for the day and take an edible and write about it, but then I was paying for my own Magic Mountain ticket.
Right.
So I was doing a lot of writing like that. But I wrote a piece there about Britney Spears, actually, that kind of went viral. And that sort of changed my career, was that piece. I got a fake ID that they were doing something called Britney Spears Day in Vegas. And so I got a fake, and if your name was Britney, then you got all these VIP perks. So I went down to Alameda Street and got a fake ID that said my name was Britney
What was your last name?
Murphy.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Of course, why not?
yeah, why not? I think I made my birthday 420. Yeah, and I wrote a story about that ended up doing well. And so I got a lot of opportunities from stuff that I wrote at Vice.
What did you learn from being Brittany Murphy for the day?
Oh my God. Well, that ended up being honestly, that was my first look into what a weird life Britney Spears had. Because ultimately what happened is, well, it's sort of a long story, but they kind of corralled all the Britneys into a place at Britney Spears Day. So I learned that other Britneys are very much made in Britney Spears' image and that Britney Spears is terrified of her fans. Maybe
How did you learn
rightfully
that?
So. Because on Britney Spears Day, so they had, which was sponsored by Zappos.com.
Why not?
Why not? So they
Yeah.
had Britney come out and like give a little bit of a speech about Zappos.com and Britney Spears Day. And then the host was like, and now all the Britneys are going to get into the link with Britney
Oh my God.
Spears. And everybody's freaking
It's like
out.
Fear Factor.
Yeah, it was like Fear Factor.
For
And so-
Britney.
yeah. And so they put all the rest of us Britneys into an elevator. People are screaming, crying. Everyone's drunk. Like it was just
my
pure
God.
panic. The elevator doors open. They parade Britney Spears out like in front of us. She takes one look at us, takes one picture, and then runs away from us.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the rest of us were stuck in, do you know the link in Vegas that like,
Oh. No, I mean, I've seen the word, but I don't know what it's like.
it's like a Ferris wheel, I guess, for grown-ups. If you
Okay.
can imagine. Like, do you know the
Is it-
London Eye?
I'm envisioning like a big infinity symbol or something. Does it look like
Kind
that?
of.
Is it a ride?
It's a circle.
Okay.
It's a very slow moving Ferris wheel,
Okay.
essentially. So I was stuck in one of those like Ferris wheel cars, and it goes very slow. It takes an hour to get all the way around.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
It's a
after Britney
commitment.
Spears ditched us, I was stuck in one of those for like an hour with the other
Just
Britneys.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Wow. I need to read this piece. Stat. Okay. There's so many different things I want to talk to you about. I read your piece about almost getting the hearing aid. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Pop Mystery Pod. I want to talk about the whole Free Britney of it all. Which direction should we go first?
We can go in that order if you like.
Okay. Sold. So you're deaf in one ear.
Yes. Yeah.
And your piece was really good. It was really
Oh,
interesting.
thank
Explain the piece a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a while since I wrote that one, but.
You want me to explain it a little bit?
Sure. Would you mind?
I would not. Okay, so you talk about your experience of only having hearing in one ear, which was really it's a very interesting insight into what that's like. Because I think people who can hear out of both ears, we just take for granted how much hearing has to do with like locating and knowing where which side a sound is coming from. So you really bring to life the experience of being limited in that way, and sort of how it put you on a certain path. But then it turns out that you can potentially get this hearing aid, like I forget the name of it,
A Baja,
which is it's where the sound goes through your the bone behind the ear.
Yeah.
It's an operation, but then the story ends with then your insurance company drops you. Insurance is supposed to cover it, and then they mysteriously drop you.
Yes.
As someone who has to call Cigna 5 times for every fucking claim, I was on fire when I read that part. And then with the help of this is the part that I really was like, what happened? With the help of the insurance commission, you got reinstated, but then you never were able, well, the piece ends before you're able to like get the surgery. Did you ever get it?
So I did.
Oh, you did?
And it was a huge disappointment.
Oh no.
Yeah, it really sucked. Actually, that's
I'm
been a
so
terrible
sorry.
experience. No, I actually am glad to talk about it because I think there should be more transparency with the procedure. So basically it's a bone anchored hearing aid and they put a screw into your skull and then you put a device on top of that.
Are you out for that? Like asleep? Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I always wear sunglasses and I often wear a baseball cap. So I wanted them to put it in a place where I'd be able to wear a cap and sunglasses. So I went into the OR wearing like a Dodgers hat and sunglasses.
So they would know.
Yeah. So I got that and I just had before I got it, I asked my doctor, I was like, if I don't like this, will there be a way to reverse it? And he told me yes. And then I went online and like tried to find other people who I could talk to who had had it before. And I had a really hard time like connecting with other people who had had it. So I just went forward with it anyway. Had a really bad experience with it healing.
What
my
happened?
skin just didn't want this screw in it.
Yeah.
And I kept telling my doctor, like, I have metal sensitivity. I can't wear cheap jewelry. I wonder if I'm having some kind of a reaction to this metal. And he kept prescribing me antibiotics. And I was like, I don't think it's bacterial.
Was it not healing or you could just feel it like internally?
Both.
Or
like the skin wasn't healing and I still have a lot of pain from it. Like actually I was driving over here and I could feel it. But so I had a really, really bad experience. Like nothing was helping. So they finally took the screw part out. And then I was like, well, what about that plate that you put in my skull? Couldn't I schedule a surgery to get that taken out? And he was like, oh, that part we can't take out because that would be like really dangerous for us to take out. So I permanently have this like metal thing in my skull
it still hurts.
Yeah.
And did your hearing improve?
No.
Not at all?
I wasn't ever able to wear the processor long enough to like get used to it. But
Is there a piece of it that goes on the outside of your head?
Yeah.
Okay. It must be pretty rare because in my whole life I've seen one person with it and I wondered what it was, but now I'm realizing that's what that was.
That's what that was. Yeah. And I've read that you can get used to it, but the days that I was able to wear it, I had a lot of feedback on it. And like I could hear my hair brushing up against it. And like what I mostly wanted it for was situations where I'm in a loud bar and I want to be able to have a conversation, because that can be tough for me in really loud spaces to hear people. But all that would do is like it amplifies all the sound kind of equally.
My dad had hearing aids near the end of his life, and he often wouldn't wear them because it was just like because if he was talking to one person, it was okay. But oftentimes it was like my husband and me and my kids who were there, and there's a lot of voices at once, and it was just too much for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess some people get used to that, but it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't enjoy it because of that. And so I guess I never got in that, and the physical pain, I just took it out.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. So for people who are listening and who are like, what is the experience of only having hearing in one ear? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, you're always aware of your placement next to people. Like people who have known me for a long time sort of always, they tell me that even when they're around other people, they stand on that person's left-hand side. Because if I'm walking in a group of people, I just am always kind of naturally veering the most to the right because my right ear is my deaf ear. So you're sort of always cognizant of your position in a group of people and where you are. And it can make some things a little bit scary. Like when I was trying to learn how to surf, I was very aware that like, okay, on this, it's the whole side of your body that you're not going to be super aware of. So if you're doing something physical where there might be someone coming up behind you or something,
right,
it can just be a little bit scary. And it's also a very invisible disability. So I think people a lot of times with single side deafness get mistaken for being aloof or mean,
right,
or even kind of like airheady because you're missing things sometimes and people might think you're ignoring them, but you just can't hear them.
Right. And remind me, were you born?
I was born with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And through the process of getting the surgery, I finally learned that there's like two parts of my ear that are just fused together, and that's what caused it.
What are they? Do you know?
I forget the names. But they're maybe it's the middle ear. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I think the upside of it is I think single side deafness also makes you a good listener because I do like there are upshots to it. Like I sleep very well. Because I always am able to have total silence because I can put my good ear on my pillow.
Yes, you mentioned that like on a plane or something.
Yeah,
was a very vivid description of it.
And then when I am talking to someone in a group, I think because I'm able to block out half of the sound, I actually am very good at focusing on a conversation.
Right. Are you curious about what things sound like in stereo?
Yes, very. That's like one thing I would really love to experience. And working in audio, sometimes I feel like I don't always feel totally secure in being able to like quality check audio. Because I'm like, I don't know if this sounds the same to someone that hears in stereo.
It is interesting, though, that you are aware of what you're missing out on. I don't mean like the stereo part. Well, I don't mean the, fidelity sense of it. But I mean that you're aware that if you had hearing in both ears, you would know what direction someone's coming from. Is that because on one side you can kind of experience that, or you've just been told what it's like? Like if someone is walking, okay, your left ear is facing me and I'm coming from that corner of the room or that corner of the room. For people who are listening, which is everyone, because I'm not doing video right now, I pointed to either side. Can you locate the direction that way?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Okay.
So like even in high school, that was like why I think sometimes people think people with single side deafness are airheads or something like that.
Yeah.
Because even in high school, people would call my name and I would have to do sort of a 360 to see where in the hallway they were.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Or like if I'm trying to find my cell phone with my Apple Watch, I can make it ring, but the only way I can locate it is by sort of like twisting my head and seeing like where it gets louder, if that makes sense.
And does anyone else in your family have this?
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
Okay. Thank you. Now I understand a little more.
My pleasure.
Everyone should go read the piece, though. Was that in Vice?
Yes, that
or
was in
Guardian.
Vice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pop Mystery Pod.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So yeah, it's a project I'm very excited about. So you mentioned, we talked a little bit, but I had a podcast that sort of kickstarted the Free Britney movement. That was called Britney's Gram. From that, my partner Babs and I did a documentary style podcast called Toxic, which was like a serial kind of style show about what was going on with the Britney story. And in reporting on that story, I kept kind of like learning about other things that were sort of tangentially related to Britney, you know, people that were involved in other artists' lives or situations that were going on, not necessarily completely with Britney, but the people that were influencing her, the things they were doing to other people's estates or other situations that were going on. So I kind of kept having these moments where I'd be like, that's fascinating. I don't have time right now. Like put it in a
notes app.
Yeah. So I had like a lot of those stories kind of percolating in the back of my mind. And I learned while working on Toxic that I really enjoy making a scripted, highly produced documentary style show. So that was my concept with this, is I wanted a place to report out all these stories that I've been really interested in and make something that was sort of very produced and scripted.
So what are some of the pop mystery pods you're going to cover?
So my pilot...
pop mysteries you're going to cover on the pod.
My pilot was about The Bachelor.
Oh, what is the situation there?
So I focused on, there was a bachelor named Colton Underwood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aware of him.
Yeah.
I'm actually not that, I mean, I don't know that much about him, but I do know of him.
So basically, do you watch The Bachelor or have you ever?
Yes. I haven't watched recently, but I am familiar with the franchise.
So I watched Colton's season in real time. And basically what happens is, like the third episode to the last, he becomes really infatuated with one of the women on the show. She is she's in the top 3, but she excuses herself. She's like, I'm not feeling it. Sorry, bye. And he takes...
I love when that happens. Take your power back, ladies.
Exactly. Everybody should reject every bachelor.
I went to college with this woman, Anandita Dutta, and was it Jake Pavelka's season? Or maybe one of the very early seasons, she, you know, in like the second episode was like, I'm leaving. It's like, you go.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Especially now knowing what I know about the way that show really manipulates contestants. But so I remember watching Colton see, so basically this woman leaves. Colton takes it terribly. He breaks the fourth wall. The show loses control of him.
What does he do?
He rips off his mic pack. Which, you know, as a reality TV watcher, these are the moments that we live for, right?
Yeah, totally.
So he rips off his mic pack, and then he sort of like, he's a former football player, and like one fell swoop kind of scales this really tall fence and just like disappears into Portugal. And so it was like wonderful TV. But then, like, they still had 2 episodes left to fill. So as you're watching, like, even though this woman has excused herself, he becomes like really dialed in on her. And the producers kind of like enable this narrative where they have him dismiss the other 2 women.
Because he's obsessed with the one who doesn't want him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he goes to her hotel room. It feels weird even when you're watching it in real time. Like her boundaries are not being respected.
Right. She wants out.
Yeah. And so he like quote unquote talks her into dating him. That's kind of how the season ends. And then about 6 or 7 months later, they date, I guess, whatever. Then it really ends. Then he starts stalking her. And it gets to the point where she has to file a restraining order.
Wait, so the season ends with him not having chosen anyone?
No, he like goes to her hotel room and like it ends with her agreeing to date him.
But isn't there supposed to be a marriage by the end?
Yeah, there's no engagement.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a shocking ending though, right?
It is
for
a
the
shocking
Bachelor.
ending.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, they go.
So then he starts stalking her.
So he starts stalking her. I mean, it gets to the point. I mean, it's very.
What's her name?
Her name is Cassie Randolph. So she files a restraining order against him. In this restraining order, I mean, the allegations are really serious. There's a picture of the tracker that he put on her car.
Oh, I think I did hear about this.
It's crazy, crazy pants. And then, so yeah.
And is this being reported in the press a lot?
Kind of.
Okay.
Like it was, but then like nothing.
It wasn't coming across my Twitter feed, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. Well, I found maybe part of the reason for that. So she filed a restraining order and then had filed a police report, which is like what you do if you want to press charges against somebody. But then she drops the charges. Nothing else happens with this case. So then when I went to go back and dig and look into it, I found the court docket, and she had switched attorneys. She had originally used what to me seemed like probably a family friend or someone to file the original restraining order. She then was being represented by this attorney who also represented Chris Harrison and stuff, like someone with really strong bachelor ties. And Colton was represented by Blair Burke, who's a very, very famous celebrity defense attorney. Like she's represented Harvey Weinstein. I mean, very like Johnny Depp, like the most, which is like a reality show contestant isn't paying this person. So,
you think
I think that the show felt some culpability about the way that they handled that situation. And
interesting. Do you think that were they exposed? And I mean that in a legal way. Like, could people have sued the show?
In my opinion, I think that's a very strong possibility. Yeah, because another thing that I uncovered in this episode and in my recording, I spoke with several producers and I got one to come on record with me. And they talked about the degree to which psychologists are involved in the production of the show, not necessarily in the capacity of, this person got eliminated, they should talk to a mental health professional, but as a way of enabling producers to manipulate contestants vis-a-vis using
wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so like what kind of advice are they giving?
They're not necessarily giving advice. I don't know what kind of advice they're giving, but the contestants actually sign a thing. In part of their contract, they release everything from those conversations to producers, and the show then has the right to broadcast any information from that.
Oh, this is different than what I thought. What I thought you were saying is like the producers are sitting in a room with psychologists or psychiatrists who are telling them, who are like pointing things out. But you're saying that the contestants are having sessions with therapists who are then telling the producers.
Yeah,
that's so fucked up.
It's really fucked up.
But do the contestants know that?
Yes and no. I found it's a very big contract, and they don't give these people very much time to review the contract before they sign it. A lot of the people on The Bachelor are really young people.
And they want the opportunity, so they're not going to like say no over fine print or something.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And so I spoke with a number of contestants for the episode. None of them really seemed to have a really clear idea of what exactly was going on with the psychologist.
Right.
And one other big thing about Colton is he was a virgin when he was on the show.
Right.
About 7 months after all these stalking allegations came out, he came out as gay.
That's what I was going to say. I thought he was gay.
He's gay. So then that's why I think there may be, in my opinion, a very strong possibility that producers acted really irresponsibly. They may have, if there were this many psychologists that were working that closely with the talent on the show, did you really not know this guy was gay?
Right.
You guys went on and on about how he never slept with a woman. Was he pushed to a place?
Did he know he was gay?
I would think so.
Like, was he... Are we saying in the closet still? I don't know. I heard someone say it recently, and my reaction was, are we saying that? And so now I've done the same thing. What I'm wondering is, was he in denial within himself about it and thought he actually liked these women, or was he kind of living a double life at the time?
That's a good question. His official story has been that he knew he was gay and he saw Cassie as his last opportunity as a normal life, and that's what caused him to do all this stalking and coercion. But
that seems weird.
Yeah, exactly. And it also seems like, okay, that to me, I don't think it matters if he's gay or not. Like, that doesn't really excuse the behavior, because if you're the person on the receiving end of that behavior, it doesn't matter if they're gay or straight.
And so now where's Cassie in all this now?
She's been completely silent.
Did you try to get in touch with her?
Yeah, definitely. Nothing. Yeah. So I would guess that part of whatever agreement they came to involved her signing an NDA.
Were you surprised at how many people would talk to you?
Yes and no. I mean, I think reporting on the Britney story was like training with weights on. So it was challenging, definitely, to get people to talk to me. But, you know, I've worked a lot with like professional cheerleaders and stuff like that too. So I sort of like stories where I have to work hard to get my sources.
Right. Yeah. So how, like, what's your process? How do you do it? And then what, well, I'll tell. So I worked as a journalist for a long time, but I was never formally trained in any way. You know, I was an English major. I took journal. Did I even take? No, I was on the high school newspaper. So I feel like I was always winging it. Obviously, I began to understand how it's done. But that first email, especially if it's a story that I was exploring, I didn't have like a hard and fast assignment yet.
Right.
I always felt a little bit like I'm a rando bugging you.
Yeah.
Like, hi, my name's Allison. I'm working on a, potential piece about I would love to talk to you about this. Like, I don't know. I can't even remember what my emails were like now, but I always felt like whatever the template for this is, no one ever showed that to me.
Yeah, and I have no formal training as a journalist
yeah.
either, so I don't know if in journalism school they give you a template, but I kind of feel like maybe there isn't one because I think it's very case by case.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I enjoy about it is sort of doing that read and thinking, okay, what part of the story may appeal to this person? Why would they possibly want to come on record and talk about this?
Yeah.
How can I sort of tap into that? And I really enjoy people. I'm very curious about people and I like getting to know people. So I think a lot of the source cooling process is just like having conversations with people and getting them to trust me and know that I'm never going to exploit someone or not respect their wishes. If they want to stay off record, then knowing that they can trust me to like give me background information.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the other, or are they secret?
No. So I had another thing I'm doing to keep it more producible is I'm alternating like every other episode is this very produced documentary style. And then every other episode, I'm doing more of like a chat format show. So I did a chat format show with Babs, my Britney's Graham co-host, about Brittany Murphy's death. And I didn't know this until I was working on the Britney Spears story, but the house that she died in, Britney Spears sold it to her.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So Britney Spears was living there. She had just broken up with Justin Timberlake. And she had this really crazy vision that she saw like demons living in her house, a man and a woman. And it freaked her out so bad that she like left and checked into a hotel that night.
Oh, wow.
And never went back and sold the house furnished to Britney Murphy. So that one's sort of about the way those two stories are related and what happened there. And then I just released an episode about the movie The Blind Side.
Oh, with Sandra Bullock. I never saw it, but I know the story.
It's a pretty bad movie. But basically, the gist of the story is that this white family adopts this poor black kid.
It's white savior.
It's a white savior movie. And because of that, he's able to go play in the NFL. They didn't actually adopt him. They put him into a conservatorship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And they put him into a conservatorship so that they're boosters for Ole Miss. So they are, and I didn't know a ton about the college sports world, so I had to learn a little bit about the world of boosters and the way that they would recruit college athletes.
I don't really know what a booster is.
Okay, so a booster, it's changed a little bit because now college athletes can make money playing. There are still boosters, which are people that usually they're people that went to a college and then continue to financially support the team. So they're basically just donors who like really, really hardcore love their team. However, there's this category of booster that like will hell or high water do whatever it takes to recruit these kids to the team. So before the kids were making money, they would literally bribe them like with cash or cars or things like that to get them to choose their school to go play at. And so that's sort of what happened with this guy from The Blind Side is they bribed him, but they also conserved him.
And so in this, what does that mean that they had him in a conservatorship?
So conservatorship is what Britney Spears was in, and it's a legal arrangement that is intended to, if somebody is severely disabled to the point where they can't take care of their basic needs, then the idea is that you appoint sort of a power of attorney or someone who can make those decisions for you. If you need help getting to the doctor or taking your medicine, then that person has the legal authority to do it. There's often a financial component to it, which is where Britney got taken advantage of, because when you're conserved, you essentially lose all of your rights as a legal person. Like you no longer, your signature means nothing. You can't agree to anything. You no longer are the person that's in charge of your finances. Your conservator could sell your house if they want to. So they put him into one of those without.
What was their reason for this?
There was no reason. They were able to just go to a court.
Were they evil? Do you think?
I think they're very,
Okay. So it wasn't like they were under the impression this was the right thing to do for him. They were just exploiting him.
Yeah, I think they may have been under the impression insofar as they were wealthy people and he was a very disadvantaged kid. So maybe they talked themselves into thinking they were doing something good because they were
trading places.
Yeah. But they said that, so basically they had been giving him all these gifts and housing and everything, and that is against the rules of college. Like you're not actually allowed to bribe a kid and get them to go there. So they said that they went to the NCAA and they were like, we've been giving this guy clothes and housing and everything. Like, what do we do? And that the NCAA was like, well, you could conserve him.
Oh. But now he did not have an intellectual disability or anything, or any disability, right?
Nothing. They never presented the court with anything.
Did he, so like he got out of it though, right?
19 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old was he at that point?
In his late 30s. I mean, he only got out of it this fall of 2023.
Did he leave with his finances? Did they take his money?
There's some really gray area stuff with what happened with the checks from the NFL and the royalties from the movie and the book. He said that he never even agreed to have his life story used for the movie.
Wow.
He didn't go to the premiere. He wasn't involved with any of it at all. He wasn't at the Academy Awards when they were.
Does Sandra Bullock know this?
I think so, which bums me out because I love her so much. But yeah, it was a pretty big news story.
Once again, didn't come across my. No, I'm just kidding. I think it did. Where do you get ideas for what to research next?
It's kind of just. I think one of my strengths as a journalist is I'm good at noticing when I'm interested in something. So it's kind of just like when something gives me that feeling of like, oh, I'm curious about that. So I sort of have a running list going. And every time, I think we all have those things where you're like, oh, I want to learn more about that. So I have a good running list going of stuff that I'm noticing that I'm curious about. A lot of it, I'm working on an episode right now that's going to release in 2 weeks. That's about dirty jokes that were in Disney movies.
Ooh.
When I was a kid. And that's just something I've always been curious about my whole life. So some of them are things like that too, where it's like I've always kind of in the back of my mind wondered about this thing. So
can you give me an example of one?
Yeah. So in Lion King, there's a scene where Simba is like sitting on a rock that's overlooking the rest of the plane. And he like plops down and the dust from him like goes into the sky, like where the stars are. And it looks like it says sex if you pause it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are you able to get people who worked on the movies to comment on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And is that one real?
That one, nobody at Disney has said that one is real. They say that one actually says SFX for special effects.
Oh. That why?
Right. And that's odd to me because it's like, well, you're admitting then that there's something written there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they've since edited it out of The Lion King.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Also crazy that I never knew. Okay. Is there anything I'm going to mention my favorite Disney movies. Is there anything in Lady and the Tramp?
No, not that I know of. Okay. The ones
pure.
that I mostly looked at were Little Mermaid, Lion King, and Aladdin.
What's in Little Mermaid?
In Little Mermaid, after remember when Ursula like takes on the body of the
Yes.
So when they're getting married, the priest that is marrying them, it looks like he gets a boner.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Delightful.
And that I was able to speak the animator that did that priest. But should I spoil it?
Well, you have to live your truth.
Okay. It's not a boner.
Sorry.
Sorry.
What is it?
It's a knee. Yeah. But it's still listening because there's other. I'm not going to spoil. Like, there's actually an even bigger thing that I realized in reporting it out. That
I can't wait to find out. Let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I need to hear more about the Britney stuff. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This year has gone by so quickly. And there's stuff I'm proud of, and then there's stuff that I still want to accomplish. For example, something that I'm proud of, I'm glad that I've been writing more frequently in my Substack. But then you guys, if I hit a certain number of paid subscribers, I get a little badge by my name. And that's where I'm trying to get to. When life goes fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins and make adjustments for the rest of the year. Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. I talk about, it's funny. Sometimes I'm reluctant to talk about my goals in therapy. I feel like I should just be there to talk about emotional strife or struggles or things like that. But I do find that when let's say I feel creatively blocked or there's something that I want to do and I'm struggling with it, when I do talk about it in therapy, it always like fast tracks that. That's just been my experience. Fast tracks that part of my life. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Take a moment. Visit betterhelp.com/bestfriend today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/bestfriend. Allison Rosen is your new best friend, supported by Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropical Smoothie Cafe believes you deserve a little vacay every day, not just once a year. Get on Tropic Time with bright and refreshing smoothies, tropic bowls, wraps, and flatbreads from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Fan fave summer mocktail smoothies just hit the pool deck at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Summer mocktail smoothies are back and more refreshing than ever and only here for a limited time. Head in and try the fan favorite Island Punch, Mango Berry Cosmo, or Watermelon Mojito smoothies today, and celebrate National Smoothie Day with Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropic Rewards members get a free smoothie on June 21st with bowl or food purchase. Order in the app, online, or in cafe. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. One bite of the Tropic Bowls from Tropical Smoothie Cafe and you'll instantly feel like you're cabana-side. Enjoy sunshine by the spoonful with the acai bowl from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Join Tropical Smoothie Cafe for a pineapple, mango, and watermelon soiree. It's all summer long. Grab a refreshing Island Punch, Mango Berry Cosmo, and Watermelon Mojito mocktail smoothie and meet us poolside. Visit one of Tropical Smoothie Cafe's 1,400 plus locations or order online or through their app. Okay, so Britney's Gram, Toxic. How did you get interested in all of that? Oh, did you get interested because you went to the Britney Day thing?
No, I've just been a Britney Spears fan since I was a teenager. She was always my favorite pop star. Just loved her from the second I saw her. So yeah, I was always, I got into it essentially from being a Britney Spears fan. But Babs, who was one of my Lady to Lady co-hosts, and we were at a comedy festival in Portland. And we had always we had a group chat going with a few other girlfriends where we would always be talking about Britney Spears' Instagram. Mm-hmm. And we're at this comedy festival and Britney dropped this post of her painting on an easel, and she's wearing a smock and she's painting these flowers, and she's in her veranda painting these flowers, and there's this classical song playing, and it's a 360 view of her, and it's just the most confounding, mysterious video. Mm-hmm. And so many people were texting us about this video, what's going on with this veranda painting? And Babs was like, what if we did a podcast where the whole joke is we just overanalyze Britney Spears' Instagram? So it was really just a silly side project idea that we had. So we started recording it. Because we already had another podcast, we were good about doing it. We already had the equipment and we knew to release on a regular schedule. Right. So we were pretty good about actually doing the thing. So what we thought was the comedy, which was taking something very silly, very seriously, ended up kind of inadvertently really directing our attention to what seriously was going on with Britney Spears. Right. You got someone left you a voicemail, right? Yeah. So we had the show for, I think we got the voice. Okay. So the show had been going for a year and a half. Were you aware of her, that she was in a conservatorship at that point? Yeah. I was aware that she was in a conservatorship, but I had really no clue what a conservatorship was. I didn't understand how restrictive they were. None of the details. But that was definitely how we were always kind of viewing what was going on with her, because it was why is she always alone? What with the where's the friends? You know, what's going on here? So we kind of gradually over the course of the show, it became more and more of a serious show because we were just looking at what was going on with Britney Spears, and it was concerning. Right. And then because I have a journalism background, I think I started to the curiosity thing piped up, and I was seriously, what is going on with this? So I remember there was a day where my husband came home from work and I was still in my pajamas at 5 p.m. and I was you are not going to believe you had gone down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I was in the rabbit hole. And so I was in that phase, and I saw that one of her conservators had petitioned the court for this giant raise. I had done reporting on some stories before, in a courthouse. So I was well, I'm sure if I go, I'll be able to figure out what room it's in. And I was successful. Oh, you saw the hearing? Yeah. And there was like me and one tabloid reporter there who was very friendly with Britney's team.
Interesting.
So this was really crazy. So he got the raise, and then and that really tripped me out because I was like, I can't believe I just saw that.
Wait, how did you know what day it was going to be? Or you had found that out somehow?
I think I had found like the thing that like calendaring the hearing date. Yeah. You know what I wasn't writing for a paper.
Right.
This was just me.
What did you... I haven't done that. What did you say? Who did you say you represent, or are they open to the public?
They're open to the public. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we all have the right to go observe, unless a court hearing has been sealed. Like you can go observe court.
Right. So how did you figure out which room it was?
They have like a little directory thing at the beginning of the courthouse. Yeah, but it was kind of crazy because it was like the courthouse, right? Like it's a depressing courthousey place. So it was kind of crazy to just like walk down these hallways and then find this piece of paper that was just stapled outside the room that was like Britney Spears.
Was she wasn't there?
She wasn't there.
Okay.
So the show sort of became a true crime show when that happened, but I was leaving that hearing, and as I was leaving, there was this group of people there, and they were like, "Excuse me, are you a reporter?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, well, we're all people who've had family members that were victimized by the conservatorship system, and we have a really big story for you. And it was this weird like synchronicity thing where I was like, oh my God, this is like a really big thing. And it ended up being...
Thank God it wasn't that tabloid guy.
I know, right?
They talked to.
I know. But it was Casey Kasem's daughter, because Casey Kasem was a victim of conservatorship abuse. And
oh, right. Yes.
A few other people who had family members that were a victim of conservatorship abuse. So I got all their information. And I got in the lift and I texted Babs and I was like, you're not going to believe this. Like, this guy got this raise. And also, this is like an even bigger issue. This is happening to other people. And so then it was like game on. It was like, oh my God. So that sort of became like what the show was about. And then again, like kind of just synchronicity. I don't even know. But while we were already very interested in what was going on with her conservatorship, that winter, she was supposed to start a new Las Vegas residency, and she announced on Instagram that she was canceling it. And the reason she gave was that her dad was sick and she was going to take care of him. And we were like, what? This is a 3-year contract. And everything we know about your relationship with your dad, like you don't even like the guy. Like this just doesn't jive with us.
Right.
So that
also, if you're in if she supposedly needs to be in a conservatorship, how is she also able to take care of her dad?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing. If she's supposed to need to be in a conservatorship, how is she doing acrobatics on stage in Vegas?
Right.
Several nights a week.
Yeah.
And so then we're like, what's going on? Then she disappeared. We had a podcast about her Instagram. She's not posting on Instagram anymore. So then we're just in deep, like, where is she? What's going on? So that had been going on for a couple months. And then after she was silent for 2 months, she posts something that's like this meme that's like, fall in love with taking care of yourself. And the caption is, sometimes we all just need a little me time. Then she uses a semicolon and a parentheses instead of an emoji.
So like an old-fashioned emoji. But because we had already been studying her Instagram for 2.5 years, we were like, that's not her.
That's not her.
She uses emojis.
Yeah, she uses emojis. And then
was she on a fucking flip phone?
Exactly. I mean, this is a woman who loves an emoji.
Right. You know her voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the same day that post came out, the Hollywood Reporter broke a story that she had checked herself into a mental institution. And so then we're like, wait a minute. Everything we know about this legal situation, she wouldn't have checked herself in. She no longer has the right to make those kind of decisions. The emoji of it all. Like, we're like, this is just crazy. So then I'm editing the following week's episode, and we had this voicemail inbox that people would just call and give their opinions about Britney's Instagram or whatever. So I'm almost done with the episode, and I think I have enough voicemails, but then I see one that's longer than the rest of them. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just listen to this one. And it ended up being somebody who was like, I can't say my name, but I'm somebody who works at the lawyer's office associated with Britney's conservatorship, and you guys are onto something. And I mean, the hair just like stood up. Yeah. I was just like, oh my God. And he goes, Britney Spears has been in a mental institution for like 3 months, and it wasn't her decision to go at all. And so then it was like, oh my God. And like my husband's like out watching football in the living room, and I'm just like, I just got the craziest voicemail.
Yeah.
So I played it for him, called Babs. She was doing comedy in Texas. I was like, I think you need to come home. Like, this is crazy. So I spent that weekend vetting this person. I got more information from them. Decided that I trusted who he was.
So I know you can't reveal, but you know who this person is.
Yeah. So we released an episode with that voicemail. I heard it for the first time on a Thursday, and we released it that Monday. And that's sort of what started the Free Britney movement.
Was that voicemail, did you disguise his voice or hers or theirs? And they didn't need you to.
Yeah.
There's no one who would have been able to figure out who it was.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the comment that my husband said on the Patreon that a listener was like, have Tess explain to you why it's not okay.
Okay.
Her Instagram continues to be so wackadoo.
Right.
And she seemed okay. I'm trying to pick my words so carefully, and it's making it so I can't talk. She seems to be mentally unwell. That is my sense of her. And I think that we got the sense during the Free Britney movement that it was like they are locking up a woman who doesn't need to be locked up, like she's being kept prisoner. I think I had this like more black and white sense of what it was.
Right.
But now it's like, oh, from watching the documentary, like I think that conservatorship was not good for her. Those people did not have her best interest at heart. But maybe I understand a little more why someone would think that she needed a conservatorship. I don't know enough about conservatorships to actually make that. I guess what I'm saying is maybe the situation was less black and white than I thought it was. And so what do you think about all of that? But just to give this person their due, they were like, it is not okay to suggest she should still be in a conservatorship. Have Tess explain to you why that's not okay. And my response to that person was like, we're not saying she should still be in a conservatorship. We're just saying it seemed one way to us, and now I do think she seems to need help. And anyway, enough of my exchange with that patron. But anyway, yeah. So what do you think of all that?
Well, there's a few things. So first of all, the standard for conserving somebody is by design should be very, very high.
Yeah.
And that's why this is really ultimately a disability rights issue. My point of view was never that. It was never to me about whether Britney Spears is or isn't mentally ill.
Right.
Because there are plenty of very severely mentally ill people in this country that are not in conservatorships and should not be in conservatorships. Because to be conserved, for example, like if you can make yourself a sandwich and eat it, you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
I mean, I spoke with a lot of mental health professionals that were like, even someone who is living on the street, that isn't
right. They have rights. If they
rights.
don't want to go to treatment, you can't force them.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, we should have a lot of autonomy in our lives, even and probably even especially mentally ill people, because they're so vulnerable. You know, so that's the first thing, is that just because somebody appears to have mental illness, especially on Instagram, that's not really a high enough standard to conserve somebody. And especially the conservatorship that Britney Spears was in was not a mental health conservatorship.
What was it?
She was in what's called a probate conservatorship. Those are for people that are, a lot of times people get into those at the end of their lives.
Oh,
yeah.
That's insane.
So it's the same court that handles your assets after you die. So a lot of times a conservator will be appointed at the end of somebody's life because they really are maybe close to comatose, hospitalized. I mean, that's the degree of disability that a conservatorship is intended for. And because it's part of that court system, there's no checks and balances in place to make sure, like, oh, do you still need this conservatorship?
Right.
Whereas a mental health conservatorship is renewed yearly because your doctor should check in with the court and maybe you've made progress and you don't need that anymore. So she was never in that kind of conservatorship, which is part of why she had such a hard time getting out of it, because it's very rare for someone to get out of one. And then I feel like with the Instagram of it all, I don't know that. I know that while she was in the conservatorship, her access to the outside world was extremely, extremely limited.
Mm-hmm.
I had sources tell me that she was like borrowing her kids' phones to be able to browse the internet because her dad was monitoring all of her activity. You know, she had burner phones. Like she was doing, so she never really had access to the regular internet for like a really long time. So I sometimes think, while the rest of us have been able to evolve with social media, and we know like this is what you put on Instagram, this is a normal post, and that's kind of like that's sort of normal protocol. And I think we've kind of, it feels intuitive to us to know like that's an unusual thing to post on Instagram, but I don't think she's had that same trajectory as the rest of us. Right. So that's why I think sometimes her posts appear a bit abnormal.
Do you think, again, we are not mental health professionals, but do you think she has mental illness?
I'd rather not comment because yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, but again, I think,
and again, I'm not saying that someone who has mental illness should be in a conservatorship. I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that at all. I'm just asking if I'm perceiving her correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised if she does. And I think that's the other piece of it that maybe is easy to forget is like some of the behavior that we're seeing from her, which again is very limited, right? I mean, we don't know what she's doing with the rest of her time. These are just like posts she's making. It's social media. I don't know. Yeah. But she has lived through a level of trauma and a type of trauma that I think no one else can even remotely understand.
Yes.
Even just the fame part of it, even just the way the media treated her part of it, that alone is so unique to her and was such a special hell that she lived through. But then what happened with her father and with her immediate family and with the mental health, quote unquote, mental health professionals that were overseeing the case, I think probably led her to not be able to trust. I mean, I can't even imagine not being able to trust your immediate family, doctors, healthcare professionals, the legal system, the general public.
Yeah.
So she's had her trust violated by all of these people. So I don't know where she goes to feel safe at this point. And the court appointed somebody who had abused her and her family for her entire life and gave that
Who
person
was that?
her dad.
Oh, yeah, right.
So her dad was like a raging alcoholic her entire childhood, was very abusive to her mom, was abusive to her, was just a really nasty influence in her life. And though she was estranged from him when she was conserved. The week before she was conserved, she had told like the security, she lived in like a gated community in the hills. Her dad was not allowed on her property.
How did he do? And I know this was covered, but I'm forgetting. Like, how did he do it?
There was an incident that happened like the week before where her parents like tried to break in. The dad didn't get in, but the mom did.
They were divorced though, right?
Yeah, they're divorced, but they have a really
weird
codependent thing going on still. And then the dad worked with the LAPD to 5150 her. They took her in. And that's the other thing. Like,
were they legitimately worried about her?
Maybe. I mean, kind of part of what had happened is this guy, Sam Letfy. I don't know if you remember him. He was one of these guys that's like, you know, these like full of shit guys in LA that are just really good at manipulating people.
I do know those kind of people. Yeah.
He was one of those. So he had sort of like entered into her life and did seem to have kind of.
What's his position?
A manager. One of those.
Yeah.
You know, manager, but not a manager. So he was like living with her at her house. So I think her parents were really concerned about that. May have been concerned about what was happening with her money then, although there's no record of her spending irresponsibly. That's the other thing. They took away her access to her own finances. She was driving like an older car at the time. She wasn't in dire straits financially. She had just released a hit album, Blackout. Her like best album had just come out. So she was actually doing okay financially, at least. Right. And so so she was 5150'd, which was pretty suspicious because that's supposed to be like an emergent thing. Like you're really only able to 5150 someone if there's an immediate threat of them hurting themselves or someone else. Yeah. But this was orchestrated by the LAPD because they had already like partitioned off parts of the street in order to get her to the hospital. And like there were helicopters there. Yeah.
Why did they go along with it?
I think partially because, I mean, in this time, like those girls, like Britney, Paris, Lindsay, they kind of were like they were very publicly kind of like running amok around Los Angeles.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And a big part of it, I think, was the paparazzi chasing them around. I mean, it was the guys with cameras that were really turning it into a spectacle. But I think that the LAPD saw Britney Spears as a problem because of that. So she got 5150'd, was strapped to a hospital bed for 72 hours while
Jesus.
While she was detained against her will in the hospital. Her dad had an emergency hearing at the court that she wasn't given notice of. Without her being present, a judge granted complete custody of her to her dad. So it all happened while she was like...
Is that legal?
No. None of this is supposed to be legal. I mean, and they also, in Britney's case, they also didn't present any kind of evidence from a doctor that she lacked capacity. Never in the whole conservatorship.
Did her dad have friends on the inside or something like that, do you think?
Well, he was able to team up with some really good lawyers. That's where
Brooke Burke? Or, so was that her name?
Well, yeah.
Burke.
Blair Burke. Yeah,
yes, that's what I mean.
Blair Burke. There's a woman named Geraldine Weil. This is where it started to be, I started to get interested in these other stories because of like the attorneys that he teamed up with have also been involved in the Kurt Cobain estate.
Ooh, are you looking into that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that there were these really high power probate lawyers that talked to him and were like, well, this could be a win-win. You have access to this money. We can bill you at this really high rate on Britney's dime.
Like a win-win for them, but not for Britney.
Yeah.
Same question with the people that put the football player in a conservatorship. Do you think the people that put her in this conservatorship are just evil? It's a such a reductive question, but
I do, yeah, because I mean, Britney Spears was effectively human trafficked, straight up. I mean, and so that's what I mean when, like, I think that's important context. I think when we look at her now, it's like she was literally trafficked by her own father.
What does that mean in this sense?
She was being forced to work and not receiving any of the compensation for the labor that she was doing.
Yeah.
And when in the times when she wasn't on stage, she was being detained in a way that she didn't have the right to. I mean, I had people tell me that like she wanted to go get Easter baskets for her kids at Target and she wasn't allowed to. She wasn't allowed to use a regular phone. It's
so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, her dad was like putting recording devices in her bedroom.
All of this is not legal, right?
No.
And where was her mom and her sister in all of this? Where are they now?
They're all in Louisiana. For this entire time, her mom was living in the house that Britney bought them. But once the conservatorship started, they were having their expenses paid for by Britney vis-a-vis the dad. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of like...
Does she get along with any of her family?
The brother has been around recently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'd say their brother's
probably
the closest
Jamie
one.
Lynn don't get along, right?
No. Well, and Jamie Lynn...
I remember there's something I know about, but I don't know what I know.
So the woman, there's actually somebody that's above the dad in terms of the power structure. This woman, Lou Taylor. And she is a quote unquote business manager, but Britney is really how she became a business manager. Like she got access. I don't know. I think her and the dad were
having some kind
yeah.
Okay.
So she actually has gone on to, from being Britney's business manager, now has like this huge entertainment business management agency. Like she's got a lot of pro athletes. She has Russell Wilson, Meghan Trainor. I mean, she has a lot of celebrities. And she really helped out Britney's sister. Like they're very, very close. And so there's always been like an alliance between the sister and that woman.
Okay.
And then also the majority of Britney's money was in a trust that existed prior to her being conserved. Mm-hmm. While Britney was conserved, the sister took over control of that trust and so had access to all those funds and whatever was going on there.
God, this is all so fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. I rescind my question from before. Wait, do you think Kurt Cobain was murdered?
No,
okay.
I don't. Do you?
No, I never did. But then there's this, I don't know. I can't remember what website it is, but there's like a cop, I think, a former cop or something who has this website laying out all of the evidence for why he thinks that it was a murder. And I remember being like, I don't know.
Wasn't it? I'm doing the same thing, but wasn't it like the gun? Like you wouldn't have had that kind of a gunshot wound if you were using your own hand.
Yes, and also Courtney Love and some other guy, maybe a musician or something, had something. You know, so it's airtight. Case closed. Yeah, I wish I could remember. I know. I think is it Daniel? That's my husband. I think he is suspicious of it.
I wouldn't say I'm not suspicious.
Okay.
But it's not to the point where I feel definitively that he was murdered. And I think Courtney Love is a pretty easy target.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My read on that is like they were in a very toxic relationship. Mm-hmm. They were both in a really dark place.
Yes. God, I wish I could remember well, I'm sure this website is easy enough to find. So what are you looking into Kurt Cobain?
What happened with his money after he died.
Okay.
Yeah, and what happened with their daughter because, well, this part I'll just say, but, well, no, maybe I shouldn't.
You want to not spoil it?
Something I'll just say it. So while Britney was conserved, Courtney Love befriended that Sam Lutfi guy. And so Courtney Love went online and was like, I'm friends with Sam Lutfi. I know that Jamie Spears has been abusing Britney Spears her entire life and like said all this stuff. Immediately after Courtney Love did that, the Jamie Spears lawyers, that Geraldine Weil lady, helped Frances Bean, their daughter, attempt to get emancipated from Courtney Love in what appears to be like a retaliatory action.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know Frances Bean got emancipated. How old was she at that time?
She was 16. Yeah.
So as you well know, that means that she could work full days as a child actor.
See?
Just kidding. Wow. This is also fascinating. Okay. I think we should do a segment called Just Me or Everyone.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
So mine is, I don't eat meat. And so I have a lot of meat eater friends that tell me like they'll just get like this urge to like eat a steak sometimes when they really need like a big hunk of protein, you know? And my version of that is I just need a bean and cheese burrito. Like that's definitely my stress food. When I'm like anxious or something, I know I need a bean and cheese burrito. I do this thing where I almost always am alone when I'm eating a burrito. Like it's a very like me time, anxious behavior. So every time I go get a burrito, I always go to the salsa bar. And while I'm waiting for my burrito, I go get those little cups of pico de gallo and I shoot them like tequila shots.
That is amazing. You just stand at the bar doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll usually do like three or four.
And is anyone, what's the reaction you get?
I've never gotten a bad reaction. No one's ever said anything to me about it.
I mean, but have they been like, do they celebrate it? I feel
Certainly
like,
not celebrated.
Okay.
And I've never had anyone say, I do that too.
Right. Hence bringing it up.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of spicy stuff. I know pico de gallo is not super spicy, but so hence I would not shoot it. But now is it going straight down your throat or are you doing a little chewing?
A little chewing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do that, but there's got to be people who do.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, it's just a nice amuse-bouche.
Yeah.
And it does. I feel like it wakes me up. Like I find it refreshing.
Right. Like a Bloody Mary or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your burrito go-to place of choice?
Taco spot in Eagle Rock.
I don't know this place.
They make such a good bean and cheese.
I do eat meat, but I don't eat a ton of it, not regularly, and I never find myself craving a steak. But if I were to like, I really need this thing right now, I would sooner feel like I would need a bean and cheese burrito more than I would need a steak. Like that's more craveable to me.
It's delicious.
I can see like how satisfying that would be.
Yeah.
If I can't get my potato salad fix. Okay. And then do you have a Podcast Pal product pick?
Podcast Pals product picks.
Yes, I do. It's this really nice moisturizer that I use called Pharmacy Honey Halo.
Oh, I've heard of Pharmacy.
It's really, you can get it at, wherever, but it has honey in it, which I think is just really nice on your skin. Like it kind of, it almost like glosses over your pores and gives you
Ooh.
this nice kind of like fresh sheen. And it smells so yummy and it just goes on so smooth. And I'm actually really into skincare. And
This has become a new thing that I've been into as well.
isn't it fun?
Mhm. It really is. Yes.
Yeah. And it's
My whole TikTok algorithm is just like skincare stuff and then aesthetic treatments, which all I've done is Botox. But I'm like obsessed with watching videos about all these things.
Do you think you'll go past Botox?
I'm very afraid of filler, and I'm also afraid of discomfort.
Yeah, same.
So, will I go past Botox? I mean, I've been like researching different laser things. I have had IPL once, and by that I mean 3 times, but in a series, so I call that once. I don't know if I will. Yeah, I mean, like the PRP and the microneedling and all that stuff freaks me out. The last time I got Botox, the one was like, "Can I make a suggestion?" And I'm like, "Sure." And she's like, she was trying to sell me on temple filler, which three different people have told me I would benefit from temple filler. And I'm like, I never felt insecure about my temples.
that.
I know. I never felt bad about them before. I don't know. What about you? What have you done?
I've done Botox, and I love it. And that is the thing we were talking about earlier of like, I'm phobic of needles,
Yeah.
but like my vanity is stronger than my
fear.
phobia. Yeah.
Right.
My sister and I have a thing where we're always like, are we sad or do we just want Botox? So a huge fan. Same thing. Like the filler scares me.
Have you ever done it?
No, but I'm certainly curious. The only thing, there are 2 things stopping me. The needle of it all.
Yeah.
'Cause that feels like more of an intense injection.
Yes, and then there, especially the whole like cannula thing, which I know is supposed to be safer than a needle, but that freaks me out.
Yeah. And I don't trust myself to know when to stop.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Because I think everyone loves to clown on actresses when they get too much filler.
Right.
I know exactly how that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm sure I would have that dysmorphia too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also very expensive.
It's so expensive. And
Botox, you can just like dabble and it's affordable.
it's
but
manageable.
Yeah.
And I feel like with all this beauty shit, you've got to be careful because once you get a taste of it, you're never going to let it go
right.
with any
Right.
of this.
I know. No, yes, I know. I never minded lines on my, I mean, there was some, but like there were many things about my face that didn't bother me that now they do bother me. And of course I'm older now, but I think it's like I'm getting trained to see my face a certain way.
Same.
Bad.
Same. Yeah. Or even like I started waxing my pussy like a year ago.
I've never done that.
Oh, it's so nice. But it's expensive and it's time consuming.
And painful, right? Or is it not that bad?
That pain
Or do you like the pain?
I don't love the pain, but I can deal with it. And I
Okay.
would say like there's like 3 or 4 strips or whatever that hurt like bloody murder. And then the rest are totally manageable. So if you can just kind of breathe through probably like 2 minutes of unimaginable pain, you can have a smooth pussy.
Right. Are you getting a full Brazilian?
I get full Brazilian.
What made you start doing it?
I was shaving for a long time. And then one of my girlfriends is an esthetician and she asked if she could like train on me.
But how lucky to have a girlfriend who's an esthetician.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So I got a taste that way. And it's one of those things where it's like, I can't go
back.
back.
Right. Because I used to shave. And then I was like, okay, so I used to shave. Then I got pregnant. It became impossible. Like the hair was growing so fast. I was itchy all the time. I couldn't even see it. And then afterwards, I was like, this is my version of bra burning. I'm just going, au natural.
Well, you're full 70s now?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, my full 70s. There's been a little bit of hedge trimming, I'd say, but nothing like before.
Right.
Where there was like barely any hair there. Which was never my intention. It's just the little patch kept getting smaller and smaller. It's like cutting your own bangs, you know?
Yeah.
So I was basically hairless before, and now it's just 70s. So, yeah. So, no, sorry. I brought that up because, no, shaving is not the same. You're never really smooth.
You're never really smooth. And like, that's the last thing I want is like a 5 o'clock shadow on my pussy,
Right.
which I used to be able to handle. But now I'm like so...
Okay.
Again, I've gotten a taste of a
How
smooth
often
pussy.
do you do it?
I go every 3 weeks.
What does your husband think?
He loves it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the other thing is a Brazilian makes
Everything.
sex really
Do you feel everything more?
amplified. Yeah. For a woman like a Brazilian, it makes you way more sensitive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because you ripped off a layer of skin.
Mm-hmm.
How did he feel about the shaving before though?
Oh, he never complained about any of my hair removal techniques. And it's really been mostly me. I'm just not a big body hair person. So even when I was single, I like to shave because I'm just not.
Have you ever considered laser hair removal?
I want it so bad. But it's just another.
Right. So this was my podcast pal product pick. Jesus Christ. A while ago, I was going to do laser hair removal at a place. And then I was like, what about these things that you can buy and do at home?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of paying all this money to go somewhere, because it's a lot of going to, I'm just going to spend the $300 or whatever, buy this Braun IPL machine. And I used it and it works.
Really?
Yes, it truly works. I did it on initially I just got it for my underarms because I don't know how you feel about shaving your underarms. I hate it. Like I can never get it. I always scrape myself. And
yeah.
And then my upper lip. And then I was like, what the fuck? I'll just do my legs. And so, at the beginning you do it says once or twice a week, but I was doing it twice a week. And so now every now and then I will, I'll get out of the shower and I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll just do a once over. But like I really don't have to. I don't know if I'm like 100% hair free, but it's very hairless.
Wow.
I could do the pussy. I could do it.
And like, how long did your legs take you to do?
I think they say, wait, do you mean like how many, like 3
Both.
months?
Like what does a session look like and how long does it take to get the hair all the way dead?
I think 3 months.
Okay.
But I feel like it took less. And then, see, that's the thing with legs is that I have trouble knowing what parts I've already done, and it gets very tedious, which is why, for me, the legs have been a sort of like, when I think about it, I'll feel my leg, and I'll be like, oh, I can feel some hair here, some stubble. So I'll like focus on two, like, the thing is maybe like 1.5 inches wide. The head of it, there's 2 different heads. There's also like a more targeted one. So I'll kind of do I'll run it up my leg really slowly and then I'll go next to it and go down. And then, so like 3 strips maybe. And then I'll just be like, I'll get the rest next time.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was surprised that it works. That's what I was shocked about. It's been like a huge life-changing find for me.
I need this.
Mm-hmm. I can send you a link.
Thank you.
Sure.
Because
now so I got I think it's called Braun Silky and Smooth. Smooth and Silky. That feels right. But then there's also like the Nude or Ulike is ULIKE. Those are other ones I've seen. I just know the Braun.
But if you know that one works.
Yeah. I've been very happy with it.
Because $300, that's less than one session at a place.
I know. And you can do it at your house.
Yeah. Because that's my other thing. Even I'm getting I was going through a phase where I was really into nails. Also a money suck, total pyramid scheme.
Wait, how's it a pyramid scheme?
Because you get the gel or the gel X. The only way to get them off is to go in and then you're already there. So what are you going to leave with boring nails?
Right.
No.
I know. It's so funny you say that. I was just thinking about nails earlier because I saw something on Instagram where her daughter was like getting a pedicure and she's like, I taught her what my mom and my aunts taught me, which is as long as your skin, your nails and your hair are good, like you're always ready to go. And I was like, my nails haven't been good in 5 years. I just don't.
But it's kind of easier to just not.
Yes.
That's where I'm at right now because it's also, not only is it a money suck, but it's like, if you're busy, who the fuck has 2 hours to sit there without your phone, without your computer?
And I don't find it relaxing.
Yeah.
I don't. I know some people do, but I don't. I find it to be like, I'm going to throw it. The filing makes me want to throw up. The whole thing, I just find uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can find it relaxing, but I know what you mean. And then it's not relaxing at all if I know I have work to do.
Yeah.
And it's taking away from stuff that I need to get done.
And then the gels, although I love how you can use your hands right away and it lasts, I feel like the removal process I don't like. And then I just feel like it destroys my nails.
It destroys your nails. And I feel like in 20 years, there's going to be some study about how
I also do wonder about that.
Yeah.
What the light did to our hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well, Tess Barker, it has been an absolute delight talking to you. I need to go listen to Pop Mystery Pod immediately. Thank you so much. So everyone should listen to Pop Mystery Pod. They should listen to Lady. What else should they be on the lookout for? What else should they be listening to?
Yeah, please listen to those things. If you want to listen to the Britney doc podcast we did, that's called Toxic, the Britney Spears story. And then all my social stuff is Testify Barker with 2 S's. So I kind of post shows and anything else I have going on there.
Wonderful. And please follow me everywhere at Allison Rosen on everything except on TikTok. I'm the Allison Rosen. And my Substack, AllisonRosen.substack.com. Guys, it's blowing up. It's heating up and blowing up. You don't want to be left out of the hot explosion that is my writing. And then also patreon.com/Allison Rosen. Check that out. Won't you please? Just love where you can text me and I'll text you back. What access. Thank you so much. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen show?